earbuds or mute buttons on their speakerphones, as otherwise background noise becomes distracting and makes the meetings difficult. To maintain timelines around subsequent meetings, everyone needs to have dialed into the meetings on time. The chair will announce each agenda item and introduce staff to present the recommendation. When I call for a question on a matter, if you have a question or comment, please indicate by stating your name. I'll record the request for speakers and will ask for anyone else who may have been missed once the list is exhausted. Those presenting as delegations will have 10 minutes to speak to the application at hand, not past applications or associated applications. Staff will have a timer for 10 minutes and will give the delegation a 2-minute warning. If the delegation presentations are not focused on the application at hand, I'll ask the delegations to focus their presentations. If committee members would like to propose an amendment to a motion, moved and seconded or deferred, please indicate during the question comment period after the motion is on the table. When asked to vote on a motion, please indicate by yes if you are in favor of the motion or on the floor, or no if you are not in favor of the motion on the floor. This will also help to check that we have maintained quorum throughout the meeting. I'll now turn it over to Kayla Delay, Senior Planner, to provide the following comments.
Thank you, MJ. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 9th Committee of Adjustment meeting during the COVID-19 state of emergency pandemic. The purpose of this Committee of Adjustment meeting is to give consideration to minor variance and severance applications. Due to the constraints of the pandemic, rather than a traditional meeting in the council chambers, the virtual meeting will act as a statutory meeting for the Committee of Adjustment planning applications. Staff have posted the notice signs on March 22nd, meeting the Planning Act requirements, and meeting materials were also posted on our website last week, along with reports, which includes staff's professional planning opinion on the merits of each application. If the committee deems it appropriate, they will render a decision tonight. Decisions of the Committee on Planning Act matters can be appealed to the local Planning Appeals Tribunal once notice of decision has been rendered. The planner will provide a quick overview of the planning application, including any public input, and then provide their recommendation. The committee will have an opportunity to ask planner questions on the application before voting on a decision. On the telephone, we have the appropriate staff, myself, Kayla Delay, Senior Planner, Dana Misniak, Planner, and Amanda Wazinski, Planner, to assist the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Kayla. I'll now call each member in order, and please indicate by stating present if you are in attendance. Mary Jane Brown, present. Harry Emmett.
Present.
Bob Hamilton.
Present.
Daniel Zuloff.
Present.
Rebecca Smith.
Present.
Steve Schmidt.
Present.
John Vamus.
Present.
Thank you. I'll now introduce item 2, approval of the agenda, and I will turn it over to member Emmett.
Okay. Moved by myself, seconded by member Vamus, that the agenda for the County of Brent Committee of Adjustment meeting of April 8th, 2021 be approved.
Thank you, member Emmett. I'll now ask if there are any members which have items to add to the agenda. It appears there are none. So members, now please indicate if you are in favor of the motion, starting with member Emmett.
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Zuloff.
Yes.
Vamus.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Brown, yes. So the motion has carried, and we will now move on to item 3, declaration of pecuniary interest. And I'll ask if there are any members present who would like to declare an interest. If so, please indicate by stating your name and application number.
Hi, this is Member Zuloff. I have a conflict with application number A621KD, 498 Woodland Road.
Thank you, Member Zuloff. We'll note that and ask that you stand aside while that application is heard. I'll now move on to item 4, adoption of minutes from the previous meeting, and I will now turn it over to Member Zuloff for the resolution.
Moved by myself and seconded by Member Schmidt that the minutes from the County of Brant Committee of Adjustment meeting of March 11th, 2021 be approved.
Thank you, Member Zuloff. Are there any members that have items to add to the agenda? It appears there are none. So, members, please indicate if you are in favor of the motion, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Zuloff.
Yes.
Famous.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Brown, yes. The motion has carried. We will now move on to item 6 on the agenda, starting with application number 1CA 2120, staff report CA 2120 for application B521DN from David Vanderland, agent on behalf of G.H. Van Sickle and Sons Limited, owners of 587 Baptist Church Road, and I will now turn it over to Dan Demisiak for his presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just going to share my screen just to give those who can see a bit of a visual. So this, Madam Chair, as you explained, this is an application for consent for the property located at 583 and 587 Baptist Church Road. The application proposes to transfer an area of approximately 0.6 hectares or 0.15 acres and is required for technical reasons as the existing well that services 587 Baptist Church Road is currently located on 583 Baptist Church Road. The property at 587, which is the smaller residential parcel, was established as a surplus dwelling severance back in 2016. And typically the confirmation of the location of the well and septic should have been confirmed at that time. So in addition to the standard conditions for consent application, a condition has been added to ensure that the application is maintaining the intent of our official plan and zoning bylaw. The condition would require an additional planning application to do two things. One would clean up the site-specific zoning that is typically placed on the retained farm parcel that restricts a dwelling, which we call it agricultural special exception A-9. So we would the portion being added to the residential lot is currently zone A-9. So we would need to clean that up and rezone it to agricultural. And the second thing the planning application would have to do is recognize the undersized parcel at that is being retained at 583, which is the large farm parcel. I have two modifications to mention. You'll notice in the planning staff report, the comments from engineering recommended that the lands being transferred between the two parcels include the gravel driveway. The image on the left here identifies that existing gravel driveway, which is in close proximity to the well. And I've outlined it again here on the survey. So that additional little bump out would encompass the gravel driveway. And I've passed this suggestion by the applicants, who have passed it by the owners, and they are in support of the increase, the minor increase. So this would increase the requested area from 0.6 hectares to 0.9 hectares, or approximately 0.22 acres. Staff are of the opinion that this minor increase will improve and formalize the function of that gravel driveway and improve access to the well for maintenance purposes. The actual dimensions of the land to be transferred will be confirmed in the field via survey and reflected as part of a revised draft reference plan that would be required to be provided as a condition of consent. The second modification is an additional condition that has been added, which would require the applicant's solicitor to undertake and to register an application of consolidation of parcels, just to ensure that the parcel that we are severing is being consolidated the way that it is intended. No public comments were received as part of the circulation of this application. Staff have reviewed the application with applicable planning policy and the comments received from relevant departments and members of the public. It is my opinion that this consent application is minor and technical in nature, and therefore recommend that the application be approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. I'll ask if the applicant or their agent is present, and if so, please present now.
I'm here, David Vanderlaan.
Thank you. Please go ahead at any time.
There's something I need to present. Sorry, I'm not hearing anything now.
Sorry, do you have any items you wish to present?
No, I do not. Just to thank the planners, Dan and Amanda were both very good, very helpful, easy to talk to, and coming from Hamilton originally, it was a breath of fresh air. So, no, that's it.
Thank you. I'll ask if there are any public delegations, but I believe there's only one item on the agenda tonight which does have a delegation to present. Am I correct on that, Melissa? It appears there aren't any, so I'll now ask, are there any members that have questions or comments or would like clarification on this report? And if so, please do so now. It appears there are none, so I will now turn it over to Member Hamilton for the recommendation.
Thank you, MJ. Moved by myself and seconded by Member Smith, the application B5-21-DN from GH Van Sickle & Sons Limited be approved as outlined in the staff report CA 2120 with the new additions that have just been added in the last day or two.
Thank you, Member Hamilton. Members, please indicate now if you are in favor of the motion, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Zuloff?
Yes.
Amos?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
And Brown, yes. The motion has carried. The application has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now move on to item 6.2, staff report CA 2121 for application B721AW, Derek Fowler, 12 Churchill Drive, former Township of Paris, and I will now turn it over to Amanda Wisniewski for a presentation.
Thank you. Through the chair. The applicant is seeking a severance in order to separate the semi-detached dwellings for separate ownership. The applicant has applied and received building permits and are near the end of construction. Each parcel is expected to have an area of approximately 349.5 square meters and frontages of approximately 11.12 meters along Churchill Drive, I note that both properties would be in compliance with the zoning bylaw. Staff are supportive of the application and have included conditions of approval that speak to parkland dedication and a tree replacement plan. No public comments were received through circulation, and staff can answer any questions the committee members may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Is the applicant or their agent present? And if so, do they wish to present anything?
I am present, yes. And no, Amanda got everything clear there. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now ask the committee if any members have any questions, comments, or require clarification on this report. If so, please advise now.
Member Hamilton here, through the chair to the applicant. There's several things on the list of conditions. Are you happy with all the list of conditions that have been put forward and have no problem with them?
Yes, we're willing to meet all those conditions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members who have questions or comments? It appears there are none, so I will now turn it over to Member Zuloff for the recommendation.
Sorry. Moved by myself and seconded by Member Emmett that application B721AW from Derek Fowler, 12 Churchill Drive, former Township of Paris, be approved as outlined in staff report CA 2121.
Thank you, Member Zuloff. I will now ask the members to indicate if you are in favor of this motion, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Zuloff?
Yes.
Damus?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
And Brown, yes. The motion has carried. The application has been approved.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. And we will now move on to the next item on our agenda, 6.3, staff report CA 2121 for application B6620RC, Charles Sawyer, 12 Maple Ave South, former Township of Burford, and I will turn it over to Ryan Cummins for the presentation.
Thank you. I will be presenting this report on behalf of my colleague, Ryan. I just wanted to confirm you can hear me. I've just connected back in.
Yes, I can hear you fine. I'm not sure of the others.
Okay, so this is a consent application for lands located at 12 Maple Ave South in the former Township of Burford. They are proposing to sever a surplus farm dwelling with an approximate area of 0.96 acres. An addendum of conditions has been sent to the committee today with conditions from our Development Engineering Division. The lands are located on the east side of Maple Ave. They are approximately frontage of 311 meters, and they currently contain an existing single detached farm dwelling and 3 agricultural buildings. No public input has been received on this application. Planning staff are of the opinion that the dwelling is considered surplus as the intent is for the local farmer to acquire the retained lands. The appropriate conditions have been included to ensure that no new building lots are to be proposed on the retained lands, and the proposal is consistent with provincial policy statement and conforms to the growth plan. Planning staff are recommending that the application be approved subject to the attached conditions. I'm happy to answer any questions the committee may have.
Thank you, Kayla. Is the applicant or their agent present, and if so, do they wish to present?
We're both present.
Do you have anything to add to Kayla's report?
I have some questions if you want to take them now with respect to the conditions that we received this morning?
Thank you. I will please ask them now, and I'll ask staff to respond to them. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So we received these updated conditions this morning, and I just, for clarification purposes, if everyone's got them in front of you, just clarification for number 2 with respect to the required grading plan. On this existing dwelling in the neighboring farmlands, is it necessary in this circumstance? Question, that was my first question. Oh.
I'll ask Kayla to respond to that.
Sure, thank you. So these comments did come from development engineering. And so if you're comfortable, we could add in some wording that would suggest may be required. And then that gives some flexibility if this isn't necessary, that we could always waive that condition.
I think that's probably the smart thing. I'm just curious as to why the requirement in this, because there's an existing dwelling, neighboring fields. I'm not sure what grading they think is going to happen from putting a new lot line in.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. So we can make sure that that wording is added into that condition for the decision.
Okay, and my next question sort of has to do with respect to, I don't know, let's say 4, 5, 6, they're all about the same thing. And Chuck, Mr. Sawyer's on here. If he wants to chime in, he can clarify. It's respect to the driveway access on the property and the limit of the frontage on Maple. I think perhaps clarification, maybe we can just update some wording. I don't think there was any expectation to have to insert any new driveways or move any existing driveways in respect of this severance. So right now, I believe there are 2 driveways, one for 14 and one for 12. And I think we're expecting them to stay as is. Chuck, if you have any comments on that? He's on mute.
How about now?
Now you're good.
Okay. No, all the driveways are going to stay where they are. Nothing's going to change there.
And none are attached, right? There's 2 separate driveways, 2 separate
Yes.
entrances.
Yes.
So I don't know whether we need to just tweak that language a little bit.
Sure, we can add after, if you want to specify which conditions, we can add wording if applicable to the end of those conditions, which would create some flexibility for you.
Okay, so I think you're looking at number 3, number 5, I think are the 2. And then my last question is really just a point of clarification with respect to 8. And then I think probably 11 is included in that as well. The requirement of a rezoning of the remaining farmlands or the retained parcel. Just clarification that the committee won't require a separate application, a rezoning application for the retained lands.
Through the chair, a zoning application is required to rezone the retained lands to prohibit a single detached dwelling. It is a standard condition of a surplus farm dwelling severance. And as part of that, there will be the opportunity to recognize the undersized parcel as well as remove the abattoir. So that can all be included in one zoning application.
Okay, will it require a return to the Committee of Adjustments?
No, zoning applications are dealt with through council.
Perfect. I have no further comments.
Thank you, Mr. Vance. I assume, again, there are no public delegations for presentation at this application. So I will now ask the members if they have any questions or comments on this report for this application.
Member Hamilton, just going back, I guess, to the southerly entrance, which I'm trying to understand. When I was there the other day, there is a driveway south of the house There is the main driveway going to the house, which is on the north side, right beside the other one. But there seemed to be a third driveway, and I think that's the one in question that was coming forward through the chair to staff. Am I understanding that correctly? And maybe that may help clarify what Mr. Vance and Mr. Sawyer want to know about.
Through the chair, I believe that is correct. And the condition number 3 speaks to, sorry, I'm just looking here. Sorry, condition number 4 speaks to having the survey confirm those entrances. And so I think that that will provide the clarification. The survey will provide clarification as to how development engineering would proceed with the conditions.
Okay, thank you. No, that was what I thought. So we'll wait and see what actually comes out of the actual survey that's put forward.
Thank you, Member Hamilton. Are there any other committee members who have questions or comments?
I've got one, Member Emmett here.
Go ahead, Mr. Emmett.
Well, with regards to this one, is similar to the first application we had tonight. There was a severance agreed to a couple of years ago with severing a house off farmland. And then we have to come back and make sure the services are on the same property. Are the wells and the septic totally contained on the proposed severed property? That's just a general question.
Yes, they are.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions or comments from the committee? It appears there are none, so I will now turn it over to Member Vamus for the recommendation.
Moved by myself and second by Member Smith that application B 66-20-RC Charles Sawyer, 12 Maple Ave South, former township of Burford, be approved as outlined in staff report CA-21-12. Attached conditions. And then I think the condition number 2 is going to be instead of shall provide a drainage grading plan, and we're going to change it to may be required to give one. May be required for condition 2.
And the other conditions, there were some modifications to 3, and 5 as well?
Right.
Okay. Thank you, Member Vamus. I will now ask the members to indicate if they are in favor of this motion, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Zuloff?
Yes.
Vamus?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
And Brown, yes. The motion has carried. The application has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Everybody have a great night.
Welcome.
Jay Vamus, say hi to your sister for me.
We will now move on to item 6.4 on the agenda, staff report CA 2119 for application A521AW, Alex DeForge on behalf of Michael and Deborah DeForge, 6 Ann Street, Paris, and I will now turn it over to Amanda Wisniewski for her presentation.
Thank you. Through the chair, the applicant is seeking a minor variance for additional height in order to facilitate the construction of an additional residential unit above the detached garage. The applicant is specifically requesting a maximum height of 6.9 meters, whereas a maximum height of 4.5 meters is permitted. It is staff's understanding the existing detached garage that is to be demolished, with the new detached garage rebuilt to current zoning standards, for example, in terms of setbacks, with the additional residential unit built above. It is staff's understanding the existing garage could not structurally support a second story, and that is why it is being removed and rebuilt. While the proposed height of 6.9 meters is greater in height than the existing dwelling, staff note the permitted height for a dwelling on land zoned as residential singles and semis is 10.5 meters. Furthermore, it is staff's opinion the proposed accessory structure will continue to be accessory to the primary dwelling in terms of scale due to the placement of the structure and existing landscaping. One public comment was received which sought clarification on the application, to which staff has clarified. Staff are supportive of the application and are able to answer any questions the committee members may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. I'll now ask if the applicant or their agent is present, and if so, do you have anything to add to the staff report to present?
Yes, I'm present. This is Alex speaking. So I just noticed just before the meeting here, the couple of comments. I just wanted to verify the location of the building. I had pulled the old permit from the back in 2004 when this structure was built, and I have the old permit here just stating all this information. So that's what we were working with on this new one. That's what the new site plan has. So I still am just waiting for a survey to verify the exact placement of this building. And then another note is this is just for a family member, my sister. It's not for a rental unit or anything like that. It's for a family member, just to, be close to home, take care of my getting on elderly parents. And yeah, nothing else to add.
Thank you. I believe this is an application where there is a public delegation who wishes to present. And if so, could they do their presentation now and identify yourself?
Okay. Yes, my name is Catherine Creedon, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak, but I will keep it brief. First of all, I want to stress we have absolutely no opposition to the proposed construction whatsoever. Our neighbors, who we trust without a doubt, have given us some verbal assurances. We would want those at this point to be more of a formal assurance, because we realize those verbal assurances will only be as good for as long as they own the property. And although it may not be their intent to sell, situation and circumstances can change. So we kind of wanted, what they had verbally agreed to is that the HVAC would not be located on the southeast corner of the structure, and that there wouldn't be any windows at the rear of the structure. Now, I understand what Amanda said about meeting certain or current setback requirements. My only comment to that is, again, we have no problem with them building on the existing foundation, provided we have those two assurances written in. And as Alex was saying, the problem is an inaccurate site plan. The actual building right now is between 20 and 30 inches from the property line. So that was the other comment that we had put in, is that we would just like the site plan to be accurate, because this issue has been spanning over 15 years, where unfortunately we were not, our comments and concerns were not believed when it came to the property line. So permits in the past were issued based on site plans submitted. All we're asking is that it becomes kind of on record a proper site plan. I think that if you're asking our neighbors to, I guess, move the garage back to the appropriate setback, that's a financial addition or hardship to them that I don't think is necessary, because we don't object to it. So we just simply want a couple of assurances kind of written in as, I guess you call them, conditions, and also that the site plan submitted is an accurate site plan, and that's all we're asking for at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Creedon. I will ask staff to respond to that.
Thank you, through the chair. So based on my understanding, the zoning bylaw does not regulate the placement of windows. That is something that's under the purview of the Ontario Building Code. So the placement of any windows would need to be meeting those requirements. And based on my understanding, we can't impose conditions that can't be fulfilled by the zoning bylaw, for lack of a better term. And then in regards to moving the structure, once a structure is demolished, it does need to meet current zoning provisions. It does lose its legal non-conforming status. So as soon as that structure is demolished, it needs to meet current zoning provisions, unless they apply for like a reduced interior side yard setback to reflect the current situation on the property. The applicants have chose to reconstruct the structure because of it can't support the second story. And so the new structure will be meeting zoning requirements.
That's unfortunate. I mean, for them, like I say, it was an additional cost that really is not necessary, because we do not object in any way, shape, or form.
So, does that answer your questions then, Mrs. Creedon?
I guess it does. And again, my only concern is still on, I guess, part of the official record. I don't know what it's called, the official record with the county. The site plan is inaccurate. So we just want to make sure that, 5-10 years down the road, that I don't have to go through this again because someone else has submitted or because that site plan is still on record. So again, I'm not familiar with the whole process of what becomes official records and what doesn't, but the site plan submitted, as I said, as part of the application, does show a 4-foot setback where it's actually like, I don't know, 0.5 meter to 0.7 of a meter setback, not the 1.2 or 1.3 meters as stipulated in the table. So that was my only concern, is that site plan is corrected and accurate if it's part of the formal documentation that the county has.
Through the chair, I can respond to that. Since your comments were submitted as part of this application, they do become part of the public record, and they will be on file with this application.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll now ask the committee members if they have any questions or comments on this application. It appears there are none. However, I have a question. I believe the applicant mentioned they were trying to obtain a survey, and I just had a question. Does that relate to, my understanding for this application, you're going to keep the existing foundation and just build on top, or there will be a new foundation? Is that why you were requesting the survey?
No, so the existing structure that's there, I'm going to be taking it right down to the foundation. So the building itself will not be moving. I guess just there was some discrepancies between Catherine and my folks about where in relation to the property line that the building is. So that's why I was just getting ahead with that survey to get that answered totally, because there's a few fences in the backyard that not.
So then the existing foundation is just going to be built on. You're not digging a new foundation.
Like I said, from before, we were just using this this old building permit from 2004.
Okay.
So
through the chair, if the applicant is preparing a survey, we can add a condition to the minor variance application requiring that the survey be prepared ahead of the building permit to confirm appropriate setbacks.
That might be a good idea. I'll put it out to the committee if they have any comments on that.
I'm in favor of that additional condition.
Thank you. So are there any other members that have questions or comments on this? It appears there are none, so I will now turn it over to Member Schmidt for the resolution.
Thank you, Chair. It is moved by myself and seconded by Member Hamilton that A521AW Alex DeForgis, on behalf of Michael and Deborah DeForgis, owners of 6 Ann Street in Paris, be approved as outlined in the staff report CA-21-19 with the addition to the conditions that was just discussed.
Thank you, Member Schmidt. I'll now ask the committee members to indicate if you are in favor of the motion, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Hamilton?
Yes.
Zuloff?
Yes.
Vamus?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
And Brown, yes. The motion has carried. The application has been approved. Thank you. With that, we will now move on to item 6.5, staff report CA-2122 for application A621KD from Frank Zoli, owner of 498 Linden Road, Brantford, and I will now turn it over to Kayla Delay for her presentation, noting that Member Zuloff will recuse himself from this application.
Thank you. This is a minor variance application to construct a pool shed and gazebo, and it requires relief from section 4 for the maximum accessory building lot coverage. The applicant requires relief of 32.7 square meters to permit a total lot coverage of 232.7 square meters, where 200 square meters is permitted. The subject property is located on the south side of Linden Road, and the surrounding neighborhood is low-density single-detached dwellings and agricultural land. Planning staff have analyzed the application in terms of the 4 tests of a minor variance under the Planning Act. The application is minor, it is desirable and appropriate development, and the application meets the intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw. No public input has been received on this application, and planning staff recommend approval. I'm happy to answer any questions that the committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Kayla. I believe there are no public delegations to present for this application. If there are, can you please identify yourself and start your presentation? I believe there aren't. I'll now ask the committee members if you have any questions or comments to this application.
Member Hamilton here, MJ. Are we going to ask the applicant if he wants to make any comments on this?
Sorry, I did forget that. Is the applicant present?
Yes, I am.
Oh, sorry. I flipped the page and I didn't quite catch that line on my script. Do you have anything to add to the staff report?
No, I don't. I just want to say thank you to Kayla and Alicia.
You're welcome. And if there are no further comments or questions from the committee, I will now turn it over to Member Emmett for the recommendation.
It's moved by myself and seconded by Member Vamus that application A6-21-KD from Frank Zoli, owner of 498 Linden Road, former Township of Brantford, be approved as outlined in the staff report CA-21-19.
Thank you, Member Emmett. I will now ask the committee members to indicate if you are in favor of this motion, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Hamilton? Member Hamilton, can you unmute your mic? Thank you. Member Zuloff?
Yep. No, I approve.
Thank you.
Sorry, Member Zulip, I have a conflict with
There's
this.
a conflict, sorry. And Member Vamus,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Brown, yes. The motion has carried. The application has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, we will now move on to item 8 on the agenda. The next meeting date is expected to be on May 20th, 2021. And I'm assuming that the June one, it indicates in the package that it will be on June 17th. Could Amanda or Alyssa confirm those are the expected dates?
Yes, those are the proposed dates.
They are. Okay, thank you. With that, we'll now move, I'll request a motion to adjourn the meeting, and I will turn it over to Member Smith.
Moved by myself and seconded by Member Hamilton.
Thank you. The meeting is now adjourned. I'll thank everyone for attendance.